neon driving motherfucker with a lace front will say that this weird thing with the
You still didn't answer the question, by the way.
for the goddamn argument. Shut your bitch ass up, nigga. Both of you. Just
still didn't answer the question. You still didn't answer the question.
We were having a decent conversation.
No, y'all wasn't.
You
Y'all was
said
talking about
bullshit. Little Hawaiians.
Y'all was talking about bullshit, man.
Until you wanted to personalize this. This had nothing
I
to
didn't
do with
personalize nothing.
You did. You said lying. You said lying. What? That personalizing you.
Okay, I concede that. I concede that, yes. I did ask you specifically, yes.
Thank you. So why
Yes, I
you
concede that.
wrong? Nigga,
I'm gonna learn not to argue with Dominic. One day.
Can I hear me?
Oh, speaking of white devil, what's up, Andrew?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
What's up, buddy? I just wanted to say that within the past couple days, Dominic, you were rated one of the worst debaters in Chilism. I think it's fair to say that today you've earned the right to be taken off that list because you've been whipping ass all fucking day.
Say it louder. Say it louder. Say it louder for the people in the back.
Concrete to lying. I'm not gonna lie, man. You've been putting dope to ass, my guy.
Oh, you're doing exactly that. You are lying.
Who's the same style? I don't know. We're gonna have to revisit them lists. That's all I wanted to say.
It's good. It's good.
What's
It's good.
going on? Dominic just admitted to being wrong.
No. I didn't. No, I didn't.
Lion said don't personalize it. You said I didn't personalize it. Lion said you brought me up. He's like, oh yeah, my bad.
Stop reaching for. Stop reaching.
Oh, what I'm saying is you just admitted to being wrong, and she just crowned you the debate king.
Okay.
And that seems a little weird.
Concrete. Let me explain why you're wrong again. Let me explain why you're wrong again.
Wrong that she just crowned you the debate king, and you were wrong?
Calm down,
What am I wrong about, Dominic?
You're wrong. You're wrong because
What am I wrong about?
God, nigga, can I get my fucking
Say what I'm wrong about.
Fuck, nigga. God damn.
Stop lying. Say what I'm wrong about.
It's drinking.
Can I get my third word out before you get ready?
to call that home?
You dodging. You dodging.
Oh shit. Okay, so I admitted that I did say.
What am I wrong about?
I admit. Oh, okay. I'm gonna just drop it, bro. Okay, take the W, bro. You got me.
Of course.
As long as you interrupt, then it's gonna be right. Go ahead.
What am I wrong about? Answer the question.
Look, you actually ran off the new guys in the room with all that stupidity, Dominic. Honestly, it doesn't even make any sense. You didn't even have to do any of that.
Yes, he did. This is dumb.
Yeah, so the nigga that y'all let bloviate and monologue for like how long? Like 5
And what are
minutes
you
or
doing? What exactly are you doing?
I'm not monologuing. I never made a monologue ever.
Fucking God.
Oh my fucking God, nigga, I'm right, ain't I?
No.
Have I ever made a monologue?
All you kept doing was interrupting, interfering. You're destroying.
I didn't interrupt. I let the nigga speak.
You're like a young child to hear adult talking, and all of a sudden you want to just put yourself into the conversation.
Yeah. So when I interject facts, against the claims that y'all niggas make, that means I'm fucking interrupting. Like what do you call that?
No art. So what you just did now was you want to refer back to when you read something off of some email thing, and you thought that your position was going to be so sound that you were going to defeat the other guy's point. Then he turns around and says, "Hey, listen, we're talking about 2025, August 11th, no murders," and then you went to 2023 as if you were making a point. You lost.
But no, I mean, he had a video of him getting, bent over by the Jewish people, the Jewish rabbi. So.
Wait, what? This escalated.
You didn't see the video? Yeah, Barissa, I put the video in the chat. Now he's chained up. You didn't see that video? Let me put it in again.
I don't even want to see that, to be honest. That's crazy.
We got an anonymous account now on there.
I posted in the chat. Please check it out.
Alright, fuck it. I'm going to click on it. I'll have a little look.
Check it out.
Your room's being recorded now on there.
Oh, yeah, this alien character. I don't know why El Normo doesn't want to come in. He comes in with the alien account as well.
No, you know
Kitover. You know his real name is John Kitover?
Yeah. Yeah, he's trying to run for a senator of some district or something like that.
Do you know that's why Pepe and this douchebag from Healthy Debates got into a fight? And that's why Pepe doxed a whole bunch of these psychopaths. Abnormal got doxed. You got the, what's his name? Mojo, the guy, Roger Mayhem, he got doxed from Healthy Debates. JB got kind of doxed as well with a catch a con because, you know, he used to pimp out women.
Oh, yeah, too.
Oh my god,
Abnormal deserve it.
sending me this video.
What did you say, Marissa?
I said I hate you for showing me this video.
Did you like it?
No, I hate you for it.
Okay, do you wanna see a South Park parody where Netanyahu spanks a black rabbi?
What? Where'd you guys
Let me put it. My Rumble channel is exclusive, and nobody has this.
The old timers come there for. Maybe Southerners.
Sorry.
There you go.
I'm not gonna lie.
Check out the South Park clip. You guys watch South Park? Watch it. Watch the South Park. How he gets spanked by nothing.
I'm not gonna lie, Parisa. Shout out to the Persians, man. I used to when I used to smoke hookah, I used to go to the Persian hookah lounge.
Yo, live. Awesome. Were they nice? Were they hospitable?
Oh, of course. I met Persians of all different backgrounds. I met Persian Jews, Persian Muslims, Persian Christians, and they all was cool.
Yeah, man. They're kind people.
You can't hang around Persians and not expect to get treated like family and eat.
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I mean?
But stay away from the Zio ones, though.
Oh, we have Parisa. By the way, we have Bruce on this app. He claims to be Persian Jew, but he's a Taliban supporter, and he's a Islamophobic piece of shit.
Why are they Islamophobic?
Let me see if I can bring Samson. Can you ping your buddy in, Bruce? Annoying as
Down
hell.
here.
No, he's not here, but he came in early in the morning and then he left. I think Samson follows him.
Oh my god, they will hate me. They will think I'm like some mullah's daughter or something.
And Carissa, by the way, when I'm done with this whole, you know, inshallah, when they get the state or whatever, I'm moving on to the Raja Pahlavi supporters. I'm going to attack them.
I love how she
Destroy
says,
them. Destroy them.
I love how she says they probably think I'm some mullah's daughter.
They do. They listen. Because for them, they just can't conceive that someone in the West that's Iranian is Muslim, right? They cannot. Their paradigm does not allow for that, right? So automatically, I have to be some like IR agent, yeah.
Exactly.
Some mullah's
I,
daughter.
I'm with you on that one. They think I'm some Talib's daughter. And I said, I wish I was a Talib's daughter. You know, I mean, being a Talib is all knowledge. I don't think I'm there yet, but inshallah one day.
Inshallah. These people, man, they just can't accept anything that like contradicts their narratives that they create in their head. The Islamophobia, there's absolutely no reason for it either. Like, it's so, like, I don't know, it's irrational.
So just tell them that you don't want to be in miniskirts, and they will start crying. They'll start yelling. They'll start cursing your mom and dad out. The minute you.
It's not even that. Like, I obviously don't even like. I dress in Western clothing, right? It's like like their hatred for Islam, right, has no solid like reasoning behind it. Do you know what I mean? They hate the government. Fair enough.
Exactly.
Okay. If the government has abused certain things in any way, which I'm not even qualified to speak on, right? But like, if you've got a problem with that, why would you not just take it out on the government? They act like Islam is new to Iran, like it just came in the past 50 years. Like 1,400 years it's been in Iran. 1,400. In fact, yeah, a lot of like the theology and like the philosophy as well, right, is down to Persian scholars. So instead of like being proud of that and claiming that, they try to disassociate and detach from it. For what reason, I don't know. But they do really act like Islam just came to Iran, like, in 79, you know? That's ridiculous.
Grace, I have a question, since you're from Iran. When in 1979, when, the Islamic Revolution came, how long did it take women's school to get back on their feet? Because from what I read was 10 years, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
I'm not the best person to speak on that. I think maybe G, if he's still in the room, because G, are you in Iran?
Yeah, Yes, very soon when
that
things went
is the next
together, and they were very supportive. As a matter of fact, now there's a lot more women than men. Even they're highly educated. The numbers could be 2 to 1 even. The women in Iran are really, really highly educated.
Yeah, because I heard it took about 10 years for like the government schooling, just like in Afghanistan. So there's government schools, but there are private schools. But I'm actually working with a group of women in Afghanistan that were working on their like uniforms and stuff. But I know Iran took time for women to go back to school, government education.
It didn't take that long. First of all, when the Iran, as soon as the government did change, it was a revolution. Saddam took advantage. Saddam, if you guys remember, Saddam, the neighbor in Iraq. Saddam Hussein took a very support from the Western, and they prepared him to attack Iran. They thought that Iran is in a very bad situation. It's a perfect opportunity for the Saddam Iraq to take over the part of the Iran that always they wanted. So Iran, sadly, from the Iraq got invaded, initiated, and it took a good 7-8 years that defend for Iran and attack from the Iraq. So that put some stuff in back behind because the country wasn't really prepared. It was just everything was in a change, and you should think that everything when it gets changed, there's no professors or some left, some stayed, some scared, and Mujahideen and everybody they were killing. As soon as they see a picture of Ayatollah Khomeini or here and there, a picture of the new flag or anything, they would come and kill. Everything was in a chaos, kind of not in a serious, but it was a very dangerous momentum during that time. Every group of these terrorists was active in Iran, and as a matter of fact, there is right now is a short TV. It's a bunch of episodes that's already came out. It goes back, it shows the back in the days what Iran was on this Mujahideen and the rest of the gang groups. It was the
You going back to the nigga?
She said she was the second person she ever had sex with. She had one body till she met this dude. They had sex raw. He ejaculated in her several times.
Figure out the illegal part because people blowing
There's nothing illegal other than if they find enough people, they could probably be charged with something like I don't know if there's a law against it, but basically enticing people like a workplace harassment thing. A music business operating that's like if I start a cleaning company and then you come to work for me and I don't have no cleaning jobs, I'm just like, yo, it's time to fuck. It's just there's something to that. You know what I'm saying?
Who the fuck is niggas talking about?
Some niggas, I don't know. They've been blowing me up about doing this room, so I'm trying to.
They're talking about be rich. Be rich.
Who's the nigga? I don't know. Do anybody know?
Your name, I don't know. I'm gonna put it
We're pretty popular in Atlanta. I don't think it's a bad.
on the picture of the nigga. What's his name?
Oh, hey, go ahead.
What's that? What's going on?
Honestly, I don't know enough about it. I just know of 2 girls and a pattern of the 2. But if you're doing it with 18, basically in Atlanta, man, these people want to be celebrities, man. And people coming to town. And that's why I like the dude cashing out got locked up because he wasn't just pimping. He was basically telling these girls you could do music. So it's the music element that really kind of throws it off. The enticement for something, but then you switch. That's the thing.
Hold on. Somebody told me he white. They look like a black dude.
Nah,
How
he
white
mixed.
he look like me?
Yeah, he mixed. But
He literally looked like me, but a nigga.
the reason why they were saying this shit was illegal. The reason why they were saying this shit was illegal was because she was 17 on the app and tried to get with her and talk to her. Everybody was like, yo,
I
don't
do
do
think
that
it's
because she a
telling
young
you
kid
that,
type
you
shit.
know,
And then what happened?
Wait,
She
there's
turned.
girls
the
on
people who
Clubhouse?
wrote about him.
Yeah, you know, you only got to be 12 to download this app.
What?
So they banished her though. You hear me, Lou? They banished her from my side when niggas found out because she was saying she was 19. So what niggas did is they put up a profile up there. Everybody blocked her, and then she had to make like burdens and shit. But when she turned 18, she sent Wolf her birth certificate, and that's how the niggas ended up being around her in the first place. And then fucking B Rich told Shorty come to Atlanta. He gonna work with her, do all this, but. This has been a couple of times though. She done flew to New York to see the niggas, see him in Atlanta, a couple places. She said she's still gonna throw the pussy on him, so you know.
It sound like a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship that y'all promote.
Nah, it's a coercion. I got
Wait, did he pay her for some pussy or?
Nah, it's like on some quick pro quo shit. So she asked a nigga for $20.
Okay.
Exactly. So when niggas ask like, oh, what's the situation? He's like, he's telling her like, yo, I can get you here and take you here. And then what happened is she went down to the crib in Atlanta, stayed the night with the nigga. He was like, yo, the only way you can stay the night here is if you sleep in my bed. That's the only rule in my house. So when she got out the shower, he was like, oh, I swear to God, they just all gonna record.
Wait. Should we? Wait. Is it smart to post her pictures though?
That shit.
We don't really know her.
No, that shit don't matter. She 18. She 18.
I know,
she
know. She's a victim in the situation, so.
She ain't no victim.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't hear it. I'm trying to walk it down because I'm kind of confused. Like,
I don't think she's so much like. She would have been a victim if he would have done what she was saying.
Look, like this is a old nigga that's messing with young pussy, and he fly her out. A lot of niggas fly women out. He probably expects some pussy. But y'all saying he masking it under like.
No. He groomed younger bitches and give them fake opportunities. That's what they trying to say. This not like the only chick.
Well, one of the problems was she had a one-way ticket, and what she told the room was, "I fucked him the first time because I wanted to make sure I could get home." That was
coercion. Yeah.
Alright, somebody just sent me a nigga Instagram. Hold on. This a white boy, man. What the fuck?
Well, we call him a white boy in the trenches. They call murder a white boy. If you light skin on Clubhouse, you're a white boy. That's not.
Today I saw that video. He's not white.
He look like Pepe. Like, what the fuck I mean?
He targeted Pepe.
His nose different than Pepe.
Oh, so then another factor. So when a girl woke up,
people block, man. Look, cause we got people pulling up.
So, and I'm not trying to throw B Rich under the bus. I don't really know the nigga, but he had a machine gun. He had a machine gun in the bed. Everybody thought that was added to the coercion. Because like, why you had a AK-47 on the bed? The little girl said, "I thought it was fake."
Cordell, what up, gang? I'm trying to figure out where's the illegal part at. Because I understand the quid pro quo. That's the civil suit. Because if you find people out under disguise of working with them business, and then I'm trying to figure out.
That's the only illegal part that could be potentially illegal. That's the only thing. That will be
grooming is not illegal. You can groom a 30-year-old. Is grooming illegal? Am I tripping?
Nah, it's not illegal, but it's frowned upon.
Yeah, because I don't want to put nothing on the dude.
Wack kind of cleared it up because in Georgia the age of consent is 16. I think it's 17 in New York.
Listen,
and so Wack's argument was,
Listen, what they mixing up, gang, is they mixing up like the nigga being a creep from being a rapist. She 18, so it's not rape. It's not rape. He just hell of a creep for fucking with a kid. He 52, 54, whatever the fuck he is, fucking with 18-year-old. That shit is extra creepy. But we done seen it before, so I guess, you know how that shit go.
Well, it's bad business.
We live in a society where a lot of women promote sugar daddy culture. So the sugar daddies don't be young; they be old. So I mean,
right? But it's bad business because if you go with a sugar daddy, it's an arrangement.
Wait. Is it for sure? Because I'm trying to figure out outside of word of mouth, has it been confirmed that he told them it was just strictly business, or is this what? The narrative.
Yeah, well, Paris put a contract signing on the internet. I seen it a long time ago. Paris was in a contract with this dude.
Oh, you know about Paris?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Paris they talking about Trimmy, but this.
So Paris fucked them too.
Man, what up?
But Paris grown as hell, man.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's not about the age.
I think that's a different situation.
Nah, it's about
Paris like 26 years old.
Well, it's not.
Yeah, you get
Paris
grew up
fucked
under
them
the butt.
for music.
That don't count. is fucking people with the promise of music.
Nah, that don't count though, cause bitches gonna get fucked in the music industry. Some bitches just be around too, just get fucked.
Bro, if you work for a company and you do business with a company, and your boss says, "Yo, if you don't fuck me, you're fired." That's not how.
Yeah, that's not how it works. That's coercion.
Wait, I'm trying to. All right, wait. So let's just walk this down. So, because I don't want to put nothing on those dudes that I don't know, and I don't want to put. All right, so is there any confirmed facts of anything illegal? Because I don't want to put shit on niggas where y'all. Cause I know a lot of niggas like to put shit on motherfuckers.
No, we already said that. There's no confirmed facts of any pedo.
All right, so I don't want to say nobody's name, right? Because I don't be making rooms like this. Because if somebody told me, first of all, somebody called me, it was a bunch of people told me it was a white dude that's preying on young women. I mean, it's a white dude preying on young black women. And they was acting like.
Hey, excuse me, the boys let Big Rich out to the room, and he did prey on the girl because he called somebody like a couple months before she 18 and inquired about the girl, and then he told her don't mess with the girl because she's a minor, you don't get yourself in trouble. And he turned around and messed with the girl anyway.
Wait.
But technically, she wasn't a minor though.
She had turned 18 when he messed with her, but he had called and made a call about her. Like
laid on their back and lit just.
The person that told him, I ain't gonna put on my name, like, don't mess with her, you know, she's a
We
minor.
made rooms on this already. Like Marcus, we literally made rooms.
I've been off the app, bro. My bad.
We've been anonymous and shit.
It was an anonymous show.
Nah,
but he came on. He's on the app. He's just on a. He's on one of them anonymous things.
So we have a conversation that people need to shoot and say, "Wow, that was a pretty fucking conversation." Put some in your blood now. You can afford to fucking come out to Arizona. This dumbass, just didn't give her her fucking money. They helped her up. Which I agree with that.
Well,
you know what you do with the waste.
I have a crush on my.
My biological age.
If you can't hold it, you sit.
He was lying about his. He had everybody in the app thinking that he was 42, and they just found out yesterday. He was lying about his age.
If he was 42 and 18.
That was almost amazing. Something 3 hours.
The girl that he
miraculously just one day.
She was a minor before he talked to her, but she had turned 18. He had waited till she was 18 before he had her back down.
Fired. What do you guys think they were doing?
This is the picture right here, Lou. Let me show you the picture. I'm gonna put on my picture.
All parents are grown up.
Yeah.
So parents.
She was just basically trying to say like he manipulated her mind and shit like that. Like got her to quit her job.
What's going on? I think this is a pretty core piece to pull out.
Wait, so she's 23 years old. Wait, hold on. I just want to clarify. So,
Overall, respectful on stage.
So what? I was responding to a couple. Mutual respect. Despite.
You can't leave unless you
Well, she indicated that by saying she had to fucking get money. Google says that's sex trafficking coercion. If somebody comes out for business or music and it turns into that type of sex, that's
the reason why I want to everybody their mama with the narrative that it was this, and then when the facts came out, all you did was it was no RICO, none of that. So the facts versus the narrative were two different things. So I just want to deal with the facts.
Wolf is in the group. Wolf could probably tell you since this happened on her side of the app. Let me see if
The little girl, that's the little girl my friend right here.
Get up here, Wolf.
She a victim though. Why
Yeah, because all words are technically concepts.
Okay, hold on, Lou. This is Wolf. You know Wolf from the trenches. This happened in her space. So one might go use Mama Wolf. And Lou, can I put my cash out for my birthday?
But there's nothing ever black and
Okay, I'm
white.
not gonna be
Good enough for me as it is. I think many hosts should actually learn from that. So again, seeing them emerge from nothing, and it's this wonderful pool, the fool.
I don't be on the app like
Tiger
that. So I'm about to get
symbolizes
off.
fear,
It
see
is my
princess
birthday.
of
I'm gonna be on
wands.
here.
Dionysus is repeatedly bitten by this tiger, but his gaze remains directed forward, gives no attention to fear, so it has lost its power over him. The tiger.
So, because I'm trying to figure out, because you was talking about earlier that like Diddy, right? He was accused of something, and the narrative was he did all of this shit, but then once the facts came out and the verdict came, all he did was really pay for some pussy in another state. So is a narrative that this dude's a white boy. This is what the information that was brought to me. Please, can you please make the run? They were trying to text me hella time.
Laid on their back.
White boy that preyed on younger black women. He has a black wife. He's praying, paying for sex for the women, coercing them, kidnapping them, basically. So can you tell me the facts? Because I'm trying to.
The slavery and the Holocaust. Those are the only fucking goddamn atrocities that are main focus. The slavery and the Holocaust.
He has a history of dating young women. I can't say that he's a pedophile because the women are of age. But
wait, so all of the women is of age, correct?
they are of age.
What's
but
that
they
word
are
here?
Very close.
So all
very,
of the women
very
are
close
of age,
to
meaning 18 or over. Correct?
18 or over.
No,
Very
meaning
close,
17 or over.
much closer to 18 than any of the other ages. This particular situation is one that's disturbing, however, because Trudy was 17 when she came to not our side of the app of the trenches, but when she came to be known as Trimmy on the app. So she was in other rooms and she was 17. She was underage, of course, and people knew. So by the time she made it to the trenches, she had just turned 18, but she lied about her age and was telling everybody she was 19. When we found out, because it was basically her and her friend, her and her little bestie. We found out that the best friend was a 14-year-old runaway, and thank you guys for the congratulations on the baby. Yeah, we found out that the girl was a 14-year-old runaway, and it was really disturbing. So she disappeared. We didn't know about her best friend on the app. Yes, was a 14-year-old runaway. Yes, they had missing persons flyers and everything for her. So we found that out after they doxed her. She disappeared. We never saw her again. Maybe about a month later, maybe 3 to 4 weeks later, she came clean and was like, I'm not gonna lie, this is riding on my conscience, and I don't want you guys to dox me. Find out I'm not 19, I am 18. So we were already traumatized from the young lady being 14. We were like, you lied. We don't believe nothing that you're saying. At this point, in order for you to be around, you have to show ID that you're of age. Other than that, we don't want you around. Boom, she got banned from the trenches, right? I don't know what happened between her being banned and her making her own spaces and B Rich starting to snoop around her. Her and B Rich started establishing a connection. What I found out today is B Rich has been talking to this girl when she was 17. People who were in spaces with them when she was 17 said B Rich was sniffing around her then. And at one point she came off her mic and they heard B Rich in her background. When they asked about it, she said no, he was just her manager. It was this is what we heard about today. So I'm just telling you guys, like, as it's coming along, like, and what's happening as it progresses. So we found out that he's been sniffing around her for a long time. She came back to the trenches. She sent me her birth certificate. Her birth certificate said she was 18, and she turned 18 February 25th of this year. So she was indeed 17, and just turning 18. So she's hot off the press. The situation with B Rich is that he has a history of messing with these girls, falling in love with these girls, and then these girls turning around and turning him into content, and then he acts all innocent and hopeless and helpless, like if these people are just manipulating him and taking advantage of him. This girl texted me today. She's basically saying that she's having suicidal thoughts. She said she feels like she ruined his life. He said he told her that his career is ruined, his life is ruined, and all he was doing was trying to help her. So it seems like there's some type of a guilt trip that's being inflicted on her, and she's feeling it really hard. She feels really bad, and yeah, that's where we at with it. It's a disgusting situation, and B. Rich is he's a manipulator. This is a serial, predator at this point. And I'm gonna put it out there, and my team, we've been putting it out there because we can't do anything legally. He's not doing anything illegal. We're not, the girl keeps saying, "Oh, I consented multiple times." It's not about the consent. It's about the manipulation, and that's why we're running it on our side over and over and over again. These girls are being manipulated by his money and his influence. Apparently, he's been calling people, using his influence, calling Lil Darius and J. Cole and all these people to impress.
It'll back up and pick it up.
It's a joke.
Yeah, I didn't get it. So I invented that.
Perhaps the way that we're using the SSRs is vastly different today than it was 50 years ago. Even like in my case, I would say 20 years ago, we had some family trauma. I wasn't so much struggling with depression as much as like I noticed that I'd just become wildly moody to the point that like I really felt overly emotional and like I just did not have control of my emotions. Went to see my doctor, started a round of Prozac, did it for about 3 or 4 months, and then my doctor weaned me right back off of it. It wasn't like my doctor wasn't a proponent of me staying on the medication and weaned me off of it, and it worked. Like it kind of just leveled things out, it balanced me out, and weaned off of it appropriately, and it ended up being very successful. And I didn't need any type of help from a mood, either the serotonin or the dopamine for years and years and years until just a couple years ago. And now I've had to be on a dopamine drug. My intrusive thoughts just got completely and totally out of control, and I was on it for about 6 months. I tried to wean off of it, and my doctor was like, this time around, my doctor was very much like, well, we can take you off of this one, but we should really put you on that one. And she was really adamant about me staying on a medication, and I did try to come off of the medication, and the compulsions with my intrusive thoughts just got completely out of control, so I had to go back on them. I don't know, I wonder if the way we're using those medications now, like it's supposed to be suddenly a lifelong support thing, as opposed to intermittent use before, if that's got anything to do with the change.
As well, right?
Well,
Hey, I'm next.
Joe, I promised Joe be the mic. Joseph, you can have it right after.
Well, working as a hospital social worker, that shit is over prescribed big time. You have walking zombies in terms of women particularly. Men don't get it as much. I don't know. They don't get prescribed to drugs as much as women. It's a taming of the shrew. I hate it. I am an active advocate against it within the hospital social worker community. It's dangerous.
yeah, I just wanted to say that's a good point to what Joe just said, but to also speak on what Serendipity was saying about, I've heard a lot of people who make arguments that a lot of reason that these psych meds, should continue to be propagated through our society is because there are a lot of people who they actually help. But I think it's important to also take into consideration that not everybody's who's being prescribed these drugs is probably being given the same quality of actual medical guidance, because like any doctor can prescribe these types of medications, but that doesn't mean that every doctor has the level of experience or wisdom or understanding or even education necessary, or even, gives enough of a fuck, about their patients to actually, really help them through what it is that they're actually going through. Some doctors probably just throw it out like candy just to kind of get people out of their hair or something, So I think that can also be a big factor in why certain people who are prescribed these types of medications end up flying off the deep end, because they're not being given the proper guidance by their
by their doctors, you know, or even they're probably not getting any support from anywhere in their life, you know, and they just said, fuck it, I'm gonna burn this shit down, you know, and they don't shoot up a school or whatever, you know. I mean, so there's a lot of factors that can kind of play into how it is that somebody can allow for themselves to generate to the point where they do something like.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what do you do in that case? I'll tell you, I have a very long.
Oh, Judy, you're in the matrix.
Is 1/4 of the universe. Am I right? I have a very long paternal history of depression in my family. I could tell you that when I was 10 or 11, I had that malaise. That's what they would call it. They never said it was depression. As I grew older, something wasn't right. So I always looked at part of my issues as being genetically predisposed because of the family history. When you have a father who has 4 siblings and 3 out of those 4 siblings have had electric shock treatment in the 1960s, and I'm on an antidepressant, have been for a while, more for anxiety than depression at this point in my life. I tried to go off, and I did go off. 6 months later, it came creeping up again. My children are both on something, but they're all adults. The problem is, you can't blame anybody. You can't blame the clinicians. There are a lot of non-compliant patients, even if the clinicians are giving them the right direction. I know a lot of I've worked in healthcare for years. I know a lot of very smart and educated doctors that would not prescribe that medication unless those people were in therapy. And then there's others that, like you said, they don't care. But I think there's an element of the not caring or get them off my back. Doesn't matter if it's an antidepressant. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter. It's just that's the way they practice. My mother's 95 years old. Other than right now, dementia, she's healthier than probably most of us. She's on 2 medications. One's a vitamin, and one is an antidepressant because my rocket scientist brothers, who are both physicians, feel that she's showing depression. She probably is. I would be depressed too. Did I agree with it? No, not for her, just to keep her down. No. But I really do believe there's a real big biological component. It's like, when they say to you, oh, do you have any family history? Oh, I'm loaded with family history. How could I have escaped it? How could my kids have escaped it? I don't know. So for me, it's been a lifesaver. When my daughter had her baby, she had such bad postpartum depression. It wasn't funny. And I would never have told her that I don't agree for her to go on a medication or I'm an activist against it, because I thought having her take the medication was better than her killing herself or killing someone else, because that's how bad it was. So we need to be really careful when we pass judgment on it, because I could say that about a lot of medications, not just antidepressants. And it just makes me sad that we're narrow-minded about it, because in my personal case, and I can only speak for me and my family, we are loaded with it. There's no way we could have escaped it. So that's all I got.
Well, Judy, you're making an appeal to emotion, though, and the thing is that that's the same way that a lot of parents who are told that they need to transition their children. Would you rather a dead child or a transgender child? Right? So would you rather have your wife commit suicide? Well, sure, people can say that, but would you rather your wife commit suicide, or would you rather your wife on antidepressants? It's the same thing. You're making the same type of case.
No, it's absolutely not.
It is not.
No, it's not. No. You're saying that you're arguing that it's an emotional thing, and it's not. She's not appealing to the emotions. She's appealing to the clinical. When you have a depression situation, it's not just emotional. Yes, it can be, but it's a chemical in the brain that doesn't allow serotonin to be produced as much. Period. That's clinical.
Correct. So
and when it happens, just like if somebody had diabetes, they would need more insulin. They would need that kind of stuff. It's the same kind of clinician kind of thing. So you're speaking horseradish, Alex.
Live my life, Alex, for about 6 months, and then we'll talk. Live my children's life. Live my aunt who was in her 80s, who can never get over the depression, no matter what she's done.
Go visit people. Go visit people who have no access to insulin and watch what happens to them.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, my father was diagnosed with clinical major depression, bipolar mania 2, hypomanic, and I saw him go through a chemistry lab of up to 12 different drugs at one time. Some of those drugs were countering side effects of another drug, and just became quite a chemistry lab. He did die of liver cancer. He had colon cancer, but it also went to his liver. But as far as it being genetic, I definitely agree. My dad, out of the 5 children that my dad had, I have 2 half brothers. One has schizophrenia, and then his brother, who has 6 children, 4 out of the 6 have schizophrenia as well. So that's what Judy's talking about, right, Judy? It's this is a different kind. There's other types of depression that through situations that happen, but like the clinical. Yeah, depression, serious stuff. I mean, my dad went through electric shock therapy. We're talking back in the 50s, which was pretty old school, scary stuff. And he did go into remission until he was about 40. He got that when he was 17 years old. He missed his sophomore and senior year junior and senior year of high school when it really hit him. And he went into a remission after the electric shock therapy, interestingly enough. But then it came back in a big way. He ended up being a psychiatric technician for Santa Barbara County in mental health because he had such a big heart for mentally ill and helping people. And anyway, that's just a little background, but he was a roller coaster ride. I mean, there'd be days I'd come home and he would be manic. He'd be buying things. There's always like a box from QVC at the front door. He'd be crying one day. Next day he'd be mowing a lawn, and he didn't want to stand in front of him when he was mowing the lawn. Like it's a roller coaster. My mom's parents, my grandparents on my mom's side, were afraid that he was going to kill all of us and himself. There was a lot. Like he had to get called down from the sheriff's department several times where he locked himself in the bedroom threatening to kill himself. He never owned a firearm, but we figured he was going to overdose or do something like that. It's definitely, it's a serious thing. I mean, that level of depression. And here's the other thing not to forget about is when it comes to medication can also make you suicidal. It can also create other kinds of things. I mean, you see the commercials, you listen to all the side effects. You really need to know the possible side effects of any medication you're on when it comes to depression. And if you stop or you forget to take your medication, that can be a catastrophe. If a person doesn't stay on their meds, that can be that can create a real shit show.
Well, and I was going to ask Rose, are any of these drugs been updated, like with the national background check when it comes to firearm purchasing? Like if you're on these meds, or has anything been updated since I'd say 10, 15 years ago to legally purchase a firearm, and are these red flags for that?
Most universities, you can form a student organization.
I have a gun, and I'm on antidepressants.
No, there's basically they ask you if you're using illegal drugs.
That might not be a sentence you ever want to hear uttered in your life. I have a gun and I'm on antidepressants.
That's the 2 things I'm looking for right now.
And to be fair, suicidal ideation, whatever it is not part of a regular SSRI. Wotrin, citalopram, even Prozac, these are not side effects of those drugs. Like those side effects are listed on commercials on TV, but those are not SSRIs that are listed on.
Well, and mentally deficient is very vague. So I don't know how.
It comes down to you were put under psychiatric care against your own will. Commercials on TV. That's kind of where they're at.
Right, so managing any kind of mental deficiency wouldn't come up as a red flag during a purchase if you have to disclose the management of a mental deficiency.
I think that the mental deficiency you're talking about, the mental deficiency is about
sorry, if you're involuntarily committed for a psychiatric thing, then you should have to say yes on that question.
It's also about capability, about intelligence. That's what that means as well.
Well, here's the other thing. You have to be able to afford. You have to be able to afford the treatment. My dad, fortunately, could. He saw a psychiatrist weekly sometimes and bi-weekly other times. And on top of that, like they constantly were monitoring his meds. But I mean, let me just list a few: Wellbutrin, lithium, Zoloft, Tegretol. Oh God, and anything you can think of, basically, he was on. I mean, but he passed away like in 2000. So, but we're talking like the antidepressants coming from like the 70s into the 80s when they still barely had their heads wrapped around depression back then. But the cost to treat is so expensive. There's so many people that can't afford treatment. That's a whole thing too.
Registered disability.
Hello. Schizophrenia. Yeah, I was like, what? Schizophrenia. There's another one. They've finally gotten to a point where there's a shot you can take once a month. But before that shot came out, the biggest problem with schizophrenia is schizophrenics didn't like the way the medication would turn them into a zombie, and they wouldn't stay on it, which is why you would see what you see just on the streets with people talking to themselves and saying things. That's the shot once a month has been a big help for schizophrenics, but then again, you still have to be able to have access to getting that treatment and that shot.
Commercials on TV.
Yeah, that was a challenge that I hope we can improve on. Taking care of our country needs help with mental health, and it's unfortunate how expensive it is. It's big.
That's okay. So two parts. Number one, I wanted to know, I do think there's something to be said about particularly the hormone therapies being combined with either the SSRIs or the dopamine drugs. I think that's definitely an element that there needs to be focus on, particularly like when you think in the context of how many of these shooters have been trans. But the second thing I was going to say is too, like speaking to the biological component, that's another thing too, that people tend to really vary widely. Some people really need the serotonin uptake.
And it's like that you're attacking everyone else and just hope that one day that dog doesn't find you.
For me, SSRIs have never really been very effective. The serotonin's not my issue. I do much better on like the dopamine uptake inhibitors, like Wellbutrin. And the Wellbutrin was what I had come off of back at the end of the year last year because the dry mouth side effect was so bad. Like I was waking up in the middle of the night and I literally couldn't swallow because the dry mouth was so bad. And my doctor knew that. I always start by leading with, I don't want to be on something for the rest of my life. Like, I just need to get over the hump, get me through this little situation, and I want to be able to come back off of it. So when the dry mouth got really, really bad, I talked to my doctor and I was like, it's time to come off because it's just not worth that side effect. And it had worked wonderfully for me. And so I did, and her immediate, like I said, reaction was, well, we should switch you to something else. And, I told her at the time, I was like, no, I would really just prefer to come off and, like, just see how things go. So I did, and like I said, the intrusive thoughts got so bad. I mean, really, really bad to the point that not only was I obsessing on the intrusive thoughts, but like I was having the compulsions. It was changing my behavior. It was affecting my behavior in a way that I did things. So I called my doctor back and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go on something else. Like getting really And that was the thing that my doctor told me to do. Is she was like, well, we're going to put you on another dopamine reuptake, but she also advised that I seek the like professional counseling services. She was like, I think you need to talk to a therapist to work through some of the behavioral issues so that the medication hopefully won't have to be long term. And so I was like, okay, 10-4, no problem. Never been like a big, huge therapy kind of person, but I decided to entertain it. And it was such a hassle going through my insurance to get approval to have some therapy sessions to talk about like just OCD in general. And I had like 3 appointments with one of those, I don't know, doc in the box kind of, you know, they give you like 3 free virtual appointments or whatever. So my insurance company had me do that first, but they only covered 3 appointments. And she was like, yeah, you're going to need more than 3 appointments. So then I go back to my insurance company. They get me approved and set up through this e-home counseling. I had 1 appointment and the counselor was horrible. He was horrific. And I called my insurance company back and I was like, no, not happening. You're going to have to find me somebody else. Then I got a call a few days later. Sorry, we don't really have anybody else on the plan that can see you. So, you know, like the mental health system in this country is just wackadoo. Services are terrible.
Can I ask a question? I've never been in therapy. I mean, maybe I should have in a lot of ways, but like, I've also never taken any psych meds. So, as far as what it is that the doctors use to prescribe the psych meds and the therapy that you might be going through, is there any correspondence between the therapist and the doctor so that they can kind of come together to try and decide like what type of, you know, measures or what type of medications will be best for a patient to be prescribed?
The only correspondence in my case was my doctor requesting the records from the therapist because my doctor was the prescriber of the medication, but the therapist was the one. And like I said, they're OCD issues. It's not like, you know, which is a little bit different, but still kind of in the realm. But yeah, so my doctor requested it from the therapy provider, but that was his own initiative. I don't necessarily know what the standard norm is. Like I said, I'm not a therapy person. But given the compulsive behavior, I felt like, well, at this point, I'll try anything because I just wanted to get it under control.
I just feel like there should be, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe that would require a lot more funding or resources or, you know, some sort of like adjustments to be made to the system or whatever, but you know, like when you're dealing with people's heads, it's like it's incredibly subjective, you know, and like the types of emotions that a person is going through, the type of upbringing they had, or whatever type of trauma that they might have been exposed to, could be a big factor in what, you know, and why they're struggling to cope with and reconcile with the world, you know. So like, it's not solely, you know, a brain chemical issue, you know, it's also like a spiritual issue, you know, it's a psychological issue, you know, and it just seems really irresponsible to me to just be like, to give a doctor like complete agency and their ability to decide what type of medications a person should be prescribed based on, you know, just solely like brain chemistry, you know. I don't know. That's my perspective.
So to give you a little bit of reassurance, often when people go into medicine therapy, their vitals are checked, things like that. There's a lot of things that are considered before they're diagnosed, before they're given any kind of medication. Sometimes, and it depends. There's a lot of doctors who can give those drugs out. Before it was really difficult to get any of these medications, and now it's become more readily available. But there's also what happens with psychiatric stuff too is more behavior. There's no kind of screen you can do. There's no blood screen. There's no they're still determining if the MRIs can determine if somebody, like a person in severe depression versus somebody who's not, if there's even show up on an MRI screen, things like that, you know, a lot of, or pick a screening of any sort. So what they've done is determined how are you feeling and what's going on with your body, what symptoms have made you concerned that this is not just a physical condition. What those things.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, it makes sense, and I can understand the validity of all that. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's not always a purely somatic issue. Like, as somebody who's had mental health issues all my life because I had a chronically abusive childhood, it was like there were plenty of instances that I can remember during like different phases of growth and evolution that I went through where I was on the verge of going off the deep end, and just fucking, going crazy, and sometimes all a person needs is just like not to, just be oversimplified about it, but they just need a fucking hug, man. They just need somebody to
help, yeah.
They need some unconditional support and guidance, and just love from someone, and a person can on the outside look like they have all that, like they can come from like a wealthy family, be put through all the best schools and all that stuff, but like you don't know what type of fucking internal like psychological dynamics exist within that household. They've probably been emotionally neglected all their life, and I feel like those are factors that can play a big part in how a person's brain chemistry react, you know what I mean? Like it's not always it's not the tail that wags the dog, it's the other way around,
Right.
And, that's my stance on it.
And I tell you what, too, Monica mentioned it in chat, but I figured I would just put it out there. Without even intending to, in my search for, trying to just identify my behaviors and identify small little ways to make changes, I launched into deciding that I wanted to volunteer at a stable. I really wanted to work with horses, and I kind of threw myself into it. And that, honest to God, ended up being the best therapy for me. It is the one place in the world that I can go and spend time with them, and everything else on my mind just kind of falls away. And I think sometimes we all, I have a really hard time shutting my brain down and stopping the thinking. And I can be there doing that, and I don't know if it's because of the physical labor. I don't know if it's just I love the connection with the horses or what, but that's the one place I can go where everything else falls away, and I am just right there present in that moment, and it quiets my brain. And that's absolutely been the best thing in the world for me.
Will they eat McDonald's apples?
No, Wallace, they will not.
You silly goose.
Oh, that's funny. You did try it then. I told you.
I did, and they did not want any part of them. I do wonder if it's the lemon juice.
It's the formaldehyde.
Oh!
Just kidding. I don't know.
Thank you, everybody, for taking this seriously. I really, really appreciate it. There's a lot of places in life and a lot of places, it's not a closet, it's Main Streets, Clubhouse, where this kind of talk and everything can, it can be dangerous, but it can also be really meaningful. People can be lonely. So thanks for allowing some sensitivity to a lot of stuff. I really appreciate it. Whether you agree or disagree with it.
Well, I mean, the fundamental theme of the room is that some guy or person just shot up a bunch of fucking innocent people, and it's I feel like the result of that is just the general lethargic kind of coldness that a lot of people in our society just have toward one another. I mean, everywhere you go, it's there's no interaction outside of transactional interactions. You go to the store, you buy something, you talk to the clerk, whatever. But like, if you go out on the street anywhere, like nobody ever fucking talks to each other. Very rarely do you ever go anywhere where you see people who don't know each other interacting. It's just
why
like
I go to the cat food aisle on Publix, because then all the other cat ladies go there and they talk to each other. And we have a little conversation. I mean, it's really excellent. I'm kind of half joking, but actually, like when I actually go to a store and go out in public, it seems that that's just how I socialize. It's how I was raised. Not like we're gonna have like strange numbers or anything, but just wishing people a pleasant day and trying to be as pleasant as possible in any interaction. So I don't know. I get a little sense of sanity with.
Here's the most recent lesson that Clubhouse has taught me, even about my engagement here, but I think my engagement in the real world. There was a room last night calling me and some other people specifically out by name, and then lumping the conservative women on this app kind of categorically, and a lot of very unkind, untrue things were spoken in that room. And you hear about it and you find out about it, and like your initial reaction is to want to react. And that was absolutely my initial reaction as well, was to want to react, to defend myself, to call out the bullshit. But that's exactly the kind of fuel that they're looking for. And I had to come to the conclusion that, like, I'm just not going to get in the mud and roll around with them the same way. I don't have to stoop to those levels. I don't have to propagate, like, making up lies and act the same way as they do. The best thing in the world that I can do is not to give it any breath. And to just keep doing me and being me. And I have to hope that, like, my reputation amongst the people that I actually care about will stand for itself. I don't need to go defend myself. I don't need to tell people, those were lies. Those were things that weren't true. You're going to know me, and you're either going to accept me and like me, or you're not, and that's okay. We're not all everybody's cup of tea. I don't care.
You know what, serendipity? The thing is, that's the only place you'll be able to have rent-free is in the haters that want to sit back, the jealous people, whatever they may be. But you are in their head. They are thinking of you. And guess what? It doesn't cost you a damn penny. Just keep being the kind person that you are and say, well, that's great. You know what? Yeah. I always have to pay rent, but thank God I don't have to pay rent to be in your head. Keep thinking about me.
Right? I mean, these are people that I don't even engage with. I can't even say that I regularly engage in their conversations. And they chose to use my name and disparage my character. And yeah, like that at first, you're just like, what the fuck? But then I'm just like, why do I care? These aren't people I engage with. I don't care. And so, yeah, sometimes the only way to win is not to play.
That is the truth. Well, and the sad part is, I don't talk about it on here that often. I have in my bio that I'm just, real estate professional in Florida with Keller Williams. But I do have a master's degree in psychology. And I pay attention to some of these people, and I'm like, you guys are so damn lost in this world that you need to figure yourself out before you actually come on to a social audio app and try to destroy people. Because you can't do it in real life. You have no control in real life. And I pay close attention to the people that are mods that keep moving people down to the audience. Like, oh, you're in timeout. No, and then pull them back up. No, you're in timeout. No, and they just keep doing it over and over to people, like the same person. And I'm like, you know what? You have some type of problem in your life that you need to figure out, because if this is the only control you have, is to be on a social audio app. One, we don't know if that person is having some type of weird, bad day, psychopath, what they may be. But you're stemming them. The more you push them down, than to just ask real nice, you know what, I don't think it's your day in here. Do you mind to just get going? get going. I don't want to throw you out of the room because I don't think that's very kind, but if you'd like to just leave because you're not contributing. But I pay attention to that stuff because sometimes I get very aggravated with it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Joseph. Go ahead, Jim.
For a long time, I've been on this app for probably like 3 years now, and it kind of like really opens up to you once you kind of start to kind of like understand how it works. Like it actually, when I first started using this app, it completely like revitalized like my enthusiasm with the internet in general, because I was getting really like kind of bored of just the normal kinds of user interfaces and ways of communicating. Because it seemed like the user interface of the internet in general seemed kind of like once it kind of got taken over by the corporations, like it seemed like it's got very, very restrictive as far as the level of like honest, kind of uncensored communication you can have with other people on the internet. Then I discovered this app and I was like, oh, this is like real, this is raw, and it's like you're like right on the threshold of like the moment with all these different people like having all these honest and open like discussions, and it actually kind of really helped me sharpen my sword as far as like my ability to effectively communicate with other people, and to effectively communicate a lot of the higher order aspects of myself and ideas and things like that, and but there were also times where I would get sucked into like, I noticed that I would get sucked into those weird little petty kind of high school melodrama kind of bullshit situations and stuff. But if you use it properly, it's like you can use it as a way of reflecting to yourself, like these aspects of yourself that you need to kind of learn to reconcile as far as how it is that you relate to people socially and kind of exercise your own inner demons, essentially. That's kind of what I put it to use for myself as. But after that, I kind of went through that phase. I stopped engaging on the app for a long time. I would still come on here and poke around a little bit, but I would always feel like this kind of malaise about the app because it felt so. Every room that you went into, it was just like, it was just hyenas and jackals and vultures and just fucking picking at each other and, blowing smoke. And, it was just like, I don't know, like, I think it's just, you just got to kind of hold out. And that's why I'm glad I found, like, honestly, serendipity was there, that room. I think it was yesterday about, like, what's causing chaos in the country. Like, I don't know, it was the first community that I found in a long time where people were actually, like, conversing respectfully, where there was actually, like, effective moderation, where they weren't using it as a way to, like, empower their ego in some sort of way, like what, I don't remember who was saying that. I think it was Beth. There are people that do that. It's like the people that they moderate is as a way of establishing like a social hierarchy.
Yes.
Within the room, is like who's the in group and everybody else is just fucking expendable fodder, and it has like a really like deranged kind of effect on the psychology of the room, where it's not even, if you have any sort of head on your shoulders, it's not even worth fucking engaging at that point, and so yeah, it's just really a matter of what you have to understand is that your participation in these rooms is completely voluntary. You know what I mean? Like you are the one who's in complete control of what type of effect you're getting out of this app or not. And anytime I'm in a room where it's like so much of an uphill battle that it's not even worth engaging, I just remove myself from the room, because like I don't over-identify with it to the point where like I'm staking my ego on other people's perception of me in that moment. I gotta fucking try to prove something. It's just walk away, man.
Yeah, real quick, I was going to say the 4 agreement should be necessary read before downloading this app.
And 100%, the thing of it is, I don't care what space you go into, your comment about, like, you certainly do have more heavy-handed moderators that are more particular about curating, like, echo chambers or just playing with those that don't agree with them. but we're human by nature, and I think you're oftentimes going to find in most places that you will see a lot of, like, you definitely see a lot of the same moderators here in the muff. Depending on the topic of the conversation, sometimes I will mod other people. For example, if we're kind of getting into some of the, gender role, gender war topics, like I don't want the stage to be full of a bunch of women. I'm generally going to stack the deck to try and make sure that we've got some men on board. I also try to pick people that I feel like are generally going to be fair and balanced in the room as far as like listening to, don't necessarily with. But not all spaces are that way, and I don't always get it right. But I can tell you, mom issues come up all the time, and it causes bickering amongst the friends. Like it's not a fun place to be. I hate being top left in these rooms every day. Like I cannot wait for Moto.
Well. You wear the crown well, friend.
You're doing a great job. It's not easy at all to be up in the top left, for real. That is not an easy thing to have to do. You're doing a great job. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
I hate it. Content, quote unquote, creation, that's not my forte. Monica's the content creator, but I'm just trying to hold down the fort for Mojo and respect his rules to the best that I can. And I like to have these spaces every day where we can just kind of talk and chill, and the topics change from minute to minute, like, but I don't know, it does become cliquish. I'm cliquish. There are a handful of people I'm always going to mod if it's my room. Like, it's just going to happen. I'll admit that. And I don't care. I don't make excuses for it. My spaces, I can curate them however I want to. You don't have to like it, and if you don't like it, leave. It's really that easy. But I do try to keep a balanced stage whenever possible. I have even oftentimes moderated people that I vehemently disagree with, because I just don't want to give the impression of we don't want to hear the other side of it.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. I have to mod our room Monday through Friday in the mornings, which is a better time to mod because one, we record our rooms, two, most people haven't gotten drunk yet, except for our Aussie friends that are just getting ready to go to bed. But it's a little bit easier to control, and luckily, all of our mods, we know, do not have anybody blocked. Although my colleague and I, we did find one day that I had someone that I'm paying good money to help me write a book. I had her blocked. I must have looked at her. I don't know what I did, but she's the only person I've ever had blocked. And I'm like, I'm paying her. No wonder I couldn't find her anymore. But that's when it becomes a problem, when you have one mod who blocks everybody, and then you have friends that can't get in the room, and your phone's blowing up with text messages. I can't get in the room. Who do you have? Take a screenshot.
Right?
See who's in there.
That is definitely, yes, that is definitely a huge source of contention. And something else that you have to consider is how many people are your mods going to have blocked, because it's going to impact your traffic, and you're going to get those back channel messages, But I can honestly say, if I'm looking at this stage right now, and I'm looking at the majority of the audience and our listeners, all the way down to Moose down there in the goo, most of these people in here at any given time, given the circumstances, the situation, the topic, I wouldn't hesitate to mod any of them, because I've spent time in the room with you guys. I don't find anybody really that's here right now to be particularly heavy-handed. I prefer less is better in most circumstances, and so I wouldn't necessarily have an issue modding the majority of the people in this room right now. It's just a lot of times it's the topic, and two, I also don't think it's conducive to mod the whole fucking room. I think that's just a shitstorm waiting to happen. Somebody's eventually going to boom it, get mad, throw people down, kick people out. And that can get real messy too. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's why back in the day, I had a little bit more of a social clique that kind of ended up kind of disbanding or what have you. But like, anytime I would open a room, like I would be really mindful of the types of effects that modding multiple people could have in a room, because like I noticed that like, let's say that like I open a room, right, and then like I like somebody that's in the room, and I appreciate and kind of recognize the value that they can bring to a conversation, or maybe like I have a personal like kind of affinity for them or whatever. But then I modded somebody else in the room who decided that they didn't like that person, right? So then they kicked them out. Like I've been like so many times in my life where like in my actual personal relationships I had to like referee like confrontations between other people, and it's almost like kind of like how I gave myself like a sense of personal value socially almost for a long time. But I eventually grew out of that, and it made it so that anytime I would open a room, I would never moderate other people. I would just be the only moderator, and anytime anybody got out of order in a way that was rubbing me the wrong way, I would just kick them out of the room without explanation. I wouldn't even say anything about it, you know. I mean, obviously there would be levels of disrespect, you know. Sometimes all it would take is just for you to kind of give them a warning or whatever, you know. But if I could tell that their intention was to create discord in the room, you know what I mean, I would fucking just axe them, you know. But eventually that even started to have like a backlash, you know, because like people would like start to view you as being tyrannical, and then they'd all start talking shit about you in the back channels, and that just caused me to kind of step away from things for a while and just kind of focus on myself.
Yeah, you're never gonna make all of the people happy all of the time. As a chronic people pleaser, lesson number 4,461.
Yep, just be you, and the ones that don't like it, fucking kick rocks. The ones that do,
Right, Zach?
have some fun.
Can I brag about myself for a minute? I'm just
yes, ma'am.
Waiting.
I do it.
Brag really quick, because you know all this whatever that's going on in these clubhouse streets, and I actually have a real career, contrary to what people think. I went back to work a year ago. Okay.
You work at Walmart. Be quiet.
So, you know, all of this, you know, mess, whatever we want to define it as, and I actually have to do presentations, and before the presentation, I was complaining in the back channel to Serendipity. I get an email from the CHRO Serendipity. Hi, everyone. I just wrapped up today's weekly session with my name. I'm just going to call myself MG, and wanted to take a moment to recognize her exceptional delivery. Although I've seen the HR presentation several times, MG's energy and engaging style made everything feel fresh and dynamic. Her ability to connect with the audience and keep the content lively is truly impressive. MG, you are a fantastic presenter. It was a pleasure to be dialed in with you today. Kind regards. And then he called me. Via Teams. And I was like, why is my CHRO calling me? And he called me.
Oh, congratulations.
You
deserve all the flowers.
I was all rattled. I'm sorry, I had to take this moment just to give myself some flowers.
There you go.
Back to whatever we're talking about.
No, I want to stay here a little while and roast my feet at the fabulous fire you just...
Right?
I love it. We need to get women to get more, accept more praise.
Major kudos to you, sweet thing.
Oh my gosh, I'm just...
That's awesome. And what a nice thing to do. Like, it's so nice to get that.
It called me.
Acknowledgement of doing a good job, you know, like, it's so powerful to get acknowledgement. That's awesome. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Good job, MG.
Wow. Reinforce it.
All right, we can go back. I was just all concerned about this presentation. I was, like, over it. But anyway, we can go back.
Well, I am so proud of you, MG. I've been waiting so we could break the conversation to say congratulations.
Oh, we can go back. But I was just so, you know, so excited to see the email.
How many of you felt really good hearing that? Like, how that...
I did.
Just to hear her share that.
You're right. It is a gift to us.
That was really nice.
I
Wow.
It was a gift to us
A gift to us.
I love using my emojis, so I get to use my emoji.
What are we getting back to? Are we gonna still talk about the topic at the top, or?
Oh no, why? Have you got something?
No, I don't. I just was asking. I wish I did, but I'm flowing, going with the flow.
We've covered a lot of territory today.
I think we should all read our last employer review.
I'm about to get mine.
To expose who we are, like just the absolute truth of our annual review. That's funny.
I'd like to read a poem, if I may.
Sure, John. We won't even take a poll this time.
There was a flower with eyes. The eyes looked at the flower. The flower looked at the eyes. Okay, I'm done. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, this is what it is. Take the deepest breath of the day. This is called To All My Beautiful Clubhouse Friends. I don't
have any friends.
get tired of you. Don't grow weary of being compassionate toward me. All this thirst equipment must surely be tired of me. The water jar, the water carrier. I have a thirsty fish in me that can never find enough of what it's thirsty for. Show me the way to the ocean. Break these half measures, these small containers, all this fantasy and grief. Let my clown house be drowned in the wave that rose last night out of the courtyard, hidden in the center of my chest. Joseph fell like the moon into my well. The harvest I expected was washed away. But no matter, a fire has risen above my tombstone hat. I don't want learning or dignity or respectability. I want this music and this dawn and the warmth of your cheek against mine. The grief armies assemble, but I'm not going with them. This is how it always is when I finish a poem. A great silence overcomes me, and I wonder why I ever thought to use language.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus. I don't know what they're selling on the out there on the streets of Chicago, but I would say go a different route today. Don't go past that man again. Whatever you're taking, John. No, go a different route.
Oh, I thought it was accurate where it said that you're a thirsty fish who can't satisfy your thirst.
All I kept thinking is, why is he telling us about his fish?
All I kept thinking of, why does he have so many Mojo accounts?
I just kept thinking, he loves me.
I got hungry for fish.
No, there was one line in there where it ended with the word for, and then he said something else, and I wanted to interject and say, let me show you the door. But I would never do such a thing, because while you don't really have any Clubhouse friends, John, I consider you like a tier 3 friend for sure.
Clubhouse tiers. I like that. How many tiers do you have?
Just 3. Just 3
tiers. I like that.
Yeah, anything under tier 3 is a friend of me. And then, you just got the ones that don't matter.
That's good. Actually, that makes sense. Yeah, you have your acquaintances, you have your friends that you casually hang with, and then you have your close friends that you call, you have their numbers, and you hang out here at Clubhouse.
Exactly.
Together. Right? Yeah.
You should do a poem about that, John.
What, that he's a tier 3 friend?
Clubhouse tiers. I like
tier 3.
I like the play on words there too. Clubhouse tiers, it can be friend tiers, it can be real tears.
Well, I think, contentment and content, those words are so closely connected. If somebody comes on here and doesn't give you good content, it'll create discontentment. So, people who don't spread good content, they're generally, uh,
Met with contention.
well, I mean,
That's
you
right.
you all see how it's connected. Like, you are your content. So bring contentment, and people will enjoy your content.
Man, you're such a content snob.
Well, I'd like to read one more poem of contentment.
Oh, no. Okay. 60 seconds, John.
We've come again to that knee of seacoast no ocean can reach. Tie together all human intellects. They won't stretch to here. The sky bears its neck so beautifully, but gets no kiss, only a taste. This is the food that everyone wants, wandering the wilderness. Please give us your manna and quail. We're here again with the beloved. This air, a shout. These meadow sounds, an astonishing myth. We've come into the presence of the one who was never apart from us. When the water bag is filling, you know the water carrier's here. The bag leans lovingly against your shoulder. Without you, I have no knowledge, no way to touch anyone. When someone chews sugarcane, he's wanting this sweetness. Inside this globe, the soul roars like thunder. And now silence, my strict tutor. I won't try to talk about Clown House. Language cannot touch that presence.
Is that poem? Okay. So let me just say that I couldn't even listen to the thing you said because my ADHD was going into full effect with your accent as you're reading that. Okay.
Sorry for the late celebration. Yay.
Yeah,
And I also didn't want to.
very old time.
Sorry.
Fun fact, today in 1964, August 27th, Mary Poppins premiered.
Aww.
Interesting fact there. Wow.
Wait, what was the fact? I missed it.
Today, August 27th, 1964, Mary Poppins premiered.
A spoonful of sugar.
You know what? Dick Van Dyke was amazing. That guy always didn't that guy? He just had this positive. Yeah, Dick Van Dyke was awesome. I actually liked him the best out of the whole thing.
And Stevie Ray Vaughan died in a helicopter crash in 1990 on August 27th.
Yeah.
Stig's coming with in history today.
I got a little pop-up in my browser that gives me little fun facts for the day, or the date.
What National Food Day is today, Sig? Do you know? I haven't looked at that, but because every day is a National Food Day, right?
Let me check and see. Yeah.
Sig, you missed it. I don't think you were here. I was telling Nye that I'm never playing trivia against her again. If it's men versus women, then I'm just not going to play. Unless I could be on the same team as her when it comes to the trivia. Okay. TV, movies, maybe music I can compete against her with, but yeah.
I think the next trivia room we do, Sean B, is gonna be like pole pit.
Oh, I like that. That'd be cool.
And today is National Banana Day, Sean. So,
okay.
All you banana lovers, today is your day. Eat a banana.
Okay. It's good job for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Go banana! That's a quote from The Simpsons when Ralphie's on the bus and they're racing fruit and everybody's racing an apple and he rolls a banana.
That's silly. I don't even watch him. That's so silly.
I posted a Twitter link above to a highly disturbing video that was posted on YouTube 2 hours ago by the shooter. It shows his manifesto and his arsenal and all that stuff.
Oh, is this the 20-minute video that was posted on YouTube that got pulled? Is this the link?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was looking for that. Thank you. Sure.
Do you guys know the history of bananas in the United States? We had one type of banana until the 60s roughly, and then it got a fungus that killed the entire worldwide supply, so we had to change to a different banana from then on. And the other banana tasted better than the ones we have today.
Oh my gosh, like the smaller ones, right?
No. It looked like the ones we have today, but it looked the same, but it was a completely different banana. It was called a Gros Michel, Gros Michel, and it had a fungus that killed the entire world population of them, and they replaced them with Cavendish, which is the banana we eat today. And now it looks like there's a fungus starting on Cavendish, and they don't have a replacement right now, but they're worried that it might go away forever as well. It literally went extinct. The Gros Michel went extinct.
That's what they called it, Gros Michel. It had a fungus.
Dang. Instincts and going instinct. I can't talk right now.
Kind of like
Bananas are seriously important to everybody's, like to people's general diet. Well, that could be really bad news for everyone.
Yeah, and they're by far the most popular fruit in the world too.
You could solely live on bananas.
Yeah.
Are bananas in pajamas in danger?
Oh dear. Gosh.
It's like I wish I could taste one of the old bananas because it's supposed to have tasted better. It's like when McDonald's changed their fries. Apparently, like before that, they were cooked in some oil that was deemed too unhealthy, so they changed it, and they significantly changed the flavor. So Malcolm Gladwell on his podcast, Revisionist History, which is a great podcast if you haven't heard it. Malcolm Gladwell is one of my favorite people. He has an episode where he found a lab that made the same oil that McDonald's used to use, and then he cooked fries in it, and he brought people in to try them, and they were crazy good. Like the people were like, "Holy shit, this is so much better than the current fries." And apparently, we've all forgotten what they tasted like, but the other ones were way better.
What was it?
Wasn't that palm oil and then they switched to vegetable?
I thought it was lard at one point.
Yeah, I don't know. But there was something in the oil that was unhealthy. It wasn't oil itself. It was, but the reason is chalked up to this something in the oils. I don't remember the reason. I think it changed in around 2000-ish or something. But apparently the other fries tasted way better. Like on the podcast, people are freaking out how good they are.
New topic is in the chat from Monica. Scientists have discovered that black plastic used on many food products is a carcinogen.
Yeah, you see IO in if you guys see the chat, they said beef tallow. That was is that with the
tallow, that was it. Yeah,
well, that's
last.
If you go to Steak and
it's not...
Shake, that's what they promote, that they do their fries in tallow.
So
that's tallow is now, or tallow was before?
Tallow is animal fat, so it's not oil. Well, it's not technically oil.
So I'm just wondering if tallow is what they use now, or is tallow what they got rid of before?
Probably.
I think that with the rise of veganism, that was like a big reason why a lot of companies decided to stop using animal fat.
Expensive.
It was the same time that McDonald's filled its menu with salads, which went away eventually as well. There was this whole moment in time when they were trying to make McDonald's healthy. Remember?
Well, it's because of that Supersized Me movie. You guys remember that?
Yeah, that's what it was. You're right. I forgot about that. That's exactly what happened.
I think what happened was McDonald's.
By the way.
I think McDonald's got hit with like a whole bunch of lawsuits after that, and I think that's the big reason why. You know, it's like people complain about like the degree to which our society has like become so like sterile, you know. But like at the same time, like there was this weird movement like in the fucking early 2000s, you know, from like 2000 to 2010, where it almost seemed like there was like everybody was pushing back on like for McDonald's, for example, like how it was always marketing to kids, you know. And I feel like that's why they rebranded in the way that they did, because they were being attacked for it, you know. So I think that's interesting, you know, because like we're all fucking kind of to blame for how shitty society is in a lot of ways. I think like symbiotically, you know.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think we're 100% to blame.
I think there's just too many people, man. When everybody has a voice, it's like how the hell how do you establish a baseline when literally everybody in the world is coming from somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, someone said, who said this recently? I like the world better when I didn't know the opinion of people I don't know. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah, that was my.
So, like, I just feel like there was a lot more of a like a bottleneck effect as far as like the quality of voices that could kind of rise to the top of the heap before the internet.
Well, we had the same source to go to for facts. I mean, that was a big deal. Like, if you were arguing with me about something, we'd open the encyclopedia or the dictionary and we'd solve it. And we both left agreeing that one person was wrong, one person was right. Then we got into alternative facts. Then we got into factoids, right, which are false facts. And now there's facts to support every single opinion from any direction, and it's impossible to discern which ones are true and which ones are not. Like, my biggest fear is losing complete awareness of what's real and what's not real. I mean, we're already going there for sure. We're already in the midst of it. But what happens when we literally can't tell what's real and what's not real?
Like for a while, I was kind of concerned with the whole idea that you know, people were going to start to lose grip on what's real and what's not because of like, you know, ChatGPT and, you know, artificial intelligence generated images and videos and things like that. But then I realized like there's a lot of people in comments on like Instagram videos and shit like that who will be like, oh, that's AI, to a video that's like fucking like 15 years old. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, it's just stupid people. Stupid people are still the problem.
Yeah, but we really don't know what's real.
We have to maintain our critical thinking skills and question everything. I mean, honestly, we're in a period of time where you really do have to use your own intelligence and make your best judgment and guess. Because a lot of times it is a guess. I mean, you could hear about some science research on some food product, and unless you have the testing capabilities to test that water out,
what is that?
you really don't know. So now you have to like look at it and go,
years ago, he was the editor-in-chief of
what else can I find about this? Is there anything else, or is it just this one story from this one place? No one else is reporting it. It's not coming from any, you know, where's the research here? Like, you really have to do your homework now.
Well, there's also an entire generation of people who grew up using the internet as like the main means by which they interface with like the world, you know. So it's like like to the point that Mike was making. Like he's at, like I used to love reading encyclopedias and stuff like that when I was a kid, you know, because it was like the information was highly curated, you know, and you know it was coming from a place that was like very scientifically founded, you know. And but these days it's just like this whole generation of couple now actually of people who are just being exposed to like this cesspool of just like this soup of just information that is the internet, that's just Like, how do they even, like, that's got to be, like, insanity inducing, I would think. To have never had any stable, understanding of. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say at this point. Like, I can't really think or articulate what I was.
I think in my mind, one of the biggest problems is we are not using our critical thinking skills to discern whose opinion is more important than someone else's opinion. We're no longer respecting experts. We're no longer respecting, time and service. 30,000 hours of discipline studying something doesn't matter anymore if we can just find something that contradicts that on the internet and we feel like that's more important. I hear people saying all the time, you'll quote an authority of something and they'll say, oh, that's a fallacy. You ever heard the fallacy, appeal to authority fallacy? Well, I finally just looked it up. It's this, how can me believing a doctor's opinion, yes, your stupid fucking opinion, that I would trust a doctor's opinion more than yours, Joe Schmo, right? And so I looked it up, and appealed authority, it's a fallacy that occurs when someone cites an authority figure to support an argument. God, it's so fucking frustrating. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, so, can everyone hear me? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you're good now. You're clear now.
Yes, now? Okay, so appeal to authority fallacy. It's a fallacy to appeal to authority under certain circumstances. This doesn't mean it's a fallacy to appear to any authority. It's a fallacy to appear. It occurs when someone cites an authority figure to support an argument without considering whether the authority is actually an expert in this specific field, or if the authority is biased. So those are two reasons to consider that appealing to an authority could be a fallacy. However, the bias one is really easy for someone to claim. Like, if they don't agree with you, you just claim they're biased and now it's an appeal to authority. But the reality is, if you're saying that 9 out of 10 doctors say the vaccine is generally safer than it is dangerous, then believing 9 out of 10 doctors is not an appeal to authority fallacy. Because 9 out of 10 doctors represent a group of people that are experts. And if they're biased from like a high level. Like you're talking about and if that's the case, then we're all fucked anyway. Like you can say that. You can say that, like, I don't know, you're hearing about pharmaceuticals from somebody in the pharmaceutical industry, and they've been in the industry a long time, and it's appeal to authority because they are biased. Well, if you're talking about, the family that pushed OxyContin on the entire world, well, yes, for sure. That's a good example of if you're appealing to them to say OxyContin is good because they say it is and they create it, they are biased. They have an agenda and they're making money off of it. But 9 out of 10 doctors who swear to take care of people and to uphold life as a valuable thing, things like that, they're probably not grouping together to hurt us. So I just want people to think harder about what is an appeal to authority fallacy and what is an appeal to authority common sense good idea. Because if you're arguing flat earth with an astronaut, you're a fucking idiot. It's not an appeal to authority fallacy. And so I just feel like that's where we're losing track, is the difference between that. And then we throw out these words like appeal to authority, and then eventually you hear it so many times that when you hear it, you ignore it, you bypass it. You don't even consider that what you're being told is true. It's kind of like gaslighting. Like, the word was used so fucking much now. When somebody's really gaslighting and you call them out on it, everybody goes, oh, God. And it's like, but guys, you're ignoring it's actually happening.
Or changing of definitions. How about the changing of definitions?
Yeah, that too. So it's like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, guys. Like, if you're being gaslit, you need to fucking know what it means. You need to be able to identify when it's really happening and when people are saying it's happening and it's not. Don't just get so annoyed because you have short-term memory and you're tired of hearing the word used. You know what I mean? Like, these are things I see happening, and it drives me crazy because basically all of it represents a lack of critical thinking. That's what it represents.
Or annual and semi-annual vaccine therapies.
Well, if you think about it, though, Mike, like, critical thinking skills are sometimes, pretty much always something that you have to kind of develop over time after
being exposed to false information enough times that it causes you to kind of like start to appeal more to your own judgment, you know what I mean, of a situation, your own discernment, then, whatever, because there's a ton of fucking misleading information out there, man. People who are who actively profiting, as a way of engagement, generation for their posts. They'll post shit that's intentionally misleading and false, just because it triggers within certain people's minds the need to want to jump into the comments and correct the information, right? Now you fucking created a conversation in the comments, right? So people are constantly being exposed to all this fucking information, and you want to throw fucking AI into the mix. Now shit's getting really confusing, So in a way, the current landscape of the internet, do you think that it's possible that is kind of has the potential to create people, or to catalyze people developing better critical thinking skills?
You mean to? I don't know about that word, but you mean to create more critical thinking skills, or to diminish the current?
It's catalyzing, the development of critical thinking skills on a mass level, because just to be able to fucking effectively navigate the internet, you have to be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not at this point.
Yes, but let me add to that. In order to do that,
the whole necessity is the mother of all invention type of argument, It's due to the fact that
but let me add one second thing to that before you add to it. In order to do that, in order to use critical thinking, you have to be able to hold two opposing realities in your brain at the same time and consider both of them as possible. This is where people fail. They're willing to actually hold two things in their concepts at the same time in order to compare and contrast them long enough with examples to back up what they're seeing to lead them one way or another. They come into it predetermined to only accept one of the two ideas as possible. And then they don't critical think, because if they were forced with critical thinking, they'd be forced to accept considering the reality that they're wrong. Remember, we are at most 50% right. At most. You're never more than 50% right. For every single thing you think is true, there's somebody else that thinks it's completely true too. And there's arguably no way to prove it. So if you're wrong half the time, imagine that. And I do think of this all the time in my own mind. When I believe something, when I think something's just dead true, I question, is this the 1 out of 2 that I'm wrong? How many people do that? You have to hold yourself accountable. You're wrong half the time, period.
Well,
if you're even talking about something that's objective, which more things are than we give credit for, to be honest with you.
I agree with what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is that a person has to be wrong enough times to the point where they have to fucking suffer the consequences of being wrong enough times. That's what makes a person start to fucking double think twice, and be like, okay, maybe I'm not wrong 100%, maybe I'm not right 100% of the time, So and I just think that the landscape of the internet is as such that just people's basic kind of personal engagement with even just Instagram or YouTube, it's making it so that you have to fucking start to kind of really do a lot of comparing and contrasting between different kinds of things that you're being exposed to, different kinds of information that you're being exposed to, because that it's either real or it's fucking AI, So due to the fact that AI is so prevalent on the internet these days, it's going to catalyze the effect of people having to fucking hold in their mind at any given time that something is either AI or it's this, right? So that has the capacity to kind of catalyze this kind of emergence, or this kind of collective awakening of people's critical thinking skills. Is kind of the theory that I'm positing a little.
But if your point is that you have to be proven wrong enough times and suffer the consequences to recognize that you should reconsider whether you're not right all the time, I would argue that it's more difficult than ever to be proven wrong, because now there's too many places you can go to buddy up with people who will tell you you're right and to find alternative facts that will support what you want to think, that we're not being proven wrong enough to actually learn the lessons and to consider that we are wrong half the time. Like, I think that is really the biggest problem with the internet, is that you can literally convince yourself you're right no matter what you believe. There's always somebody else that's going to agree with you, and unless you remain so open-minded that you're willing to consider that there's a whole group of people that are wrong along with yourself, you're not going to suffer any consequences. You're just going to align yourself with people that agree with you. That's what people are doing. That's why politics are more polarized than ever.
Music of light.
I'm going to jump in real quick just to say hey to Io and to Marshall, because I hadn't got to say hey to them yet. Sorry. Io is so succinct. All right, y'all continue on. I'm sorry.
What's up? Glad to see you. Glad you're here. Oh my God.
I think what it comes down to is that not all opinions are equal. They're just not. Two different people with two different opinions. You need to critically evaluate who they're coming from. You need to evaluate and figure out which one is more likely to be closer to true than not. They're not all equal. And people don't have a right to have they have a right to have an opinion, but they don't have a right to be believed.
Correct.
Just because they have an opinion. I mean, and we're forgetting that too. I mean, that's another thing. There's a lot of things that we're forgetting that are just common sense shit that we're falling victim to because we're not thinking about it constructively.
Not to mention that many times you have his opinion, her opinion, and the truth falls somewhere right in between.
Exactly. Yep. Now, that said, speaking out of both sides of my mouth, there are a lot of things that are objective or should be considered largely objective that we just chalk up to subjective. And then we just sit in this gray space where we want to think we're right, the other person's wrong, but it's subjective, so we don't want to call out the objectivity of it. You know, if you want to say, like, should transgender rights be the focus of a political campaign in America? The answer is no, because it's such a small percentage of people. It's fairly objective that that's not an issue that appeals to enough people to be at the forefront of the conversation. Yet, I find myself hearing about fucking transgender people 16 times a week, which is stupid, because I haven't seen one in real life in a month, at least. So, you know, it's not subjective. It's objective that should not be a forefront issue. And if it is a forefront issue, we should question why it's a forefront issue. What's the agenda? Who's pushing it? Why is this appearing in my eyesight, in my earshot, way more often than it should, based on the relative percentage of the population that actually has it going on? It just doesn't make any sense. It's like at Home Depot. I was there, and there was 4 parking spots at the Sandy Plains Home Depot in Marietta for Purple Heart veterans. 4 of them, and they were always empty every fucking time I went there. So I Googled how many Purple Heart veterans are there in Cobb County, Georgia, and there was like 1,000. And I said, okay, so there's, I don't know how many of you are in Cobb County, Georgia, okay, hundreds of thousands, okay? There's 1,000 of them that are in Cobb County, and there's 4 parking spots at the Home Depot next to my house for them. So I went in to the guy and I was like, hey, why don't you change those to veteran spots? Because they're empty every single day because nobody did the math to figure out that there isn't enough Purple Heart veterans to be parking in those spots out there. So it's a waste of fucking space. I told the manager that. I called him over. And guess what? A month later, they were all veterans only spots and no Purple Heart spots, and I was so happy it worked. But it's like, why didn't it make any sense?
Hey, I was checking your PTR out. I was trying to make sense of that. I was so tiny, I had to take a screenshot to zoom in.
Yeah.
That looks interesting.
What is it?
Jason, and the next thing you know, the girl is turned the fuck out. And she didn't have a chance. So niggas be introducing these young girls into...
When did you... I'll find it. Morse code.
Actually, we had a school shooting before I was even born. It was called Dunblane Massacre.
Our stuff, well, it turns out that we actually used microwaves to detect viruses, so the truth is a little bit more weird than you might believe, which is
How to check if someone's spying on you. Actually, it's pretty simple. If you notice any of these signs, it's time.
Welcome to Being in the Way with Alan Watts. I'm Mark Watts, your host, and today's talk is on being God, which was recorded in 1971 in New York City at a conference on Western therapy and Eastern religions. Like last week's talk, Zen Bones, it's a big hall presentation given to hundreds of people who attended the conference. And in it, my father explores both Western therapy and Western religions in relationship to the mystical experiences or altered states that are the basis of Eastern religions. He points out that neither Western therapy nor Western religions are particularly equipped to deal with individuals who've had these experiences. And in the course of the talk, he invites everyone there to participate with him in a clinical experiment in which he positions himself as a patient who's had one of these experiences and believes himself to be God, and invites the audience to ask any questions they like. The results are lively, at times hilarious, and definitely enlightening as he pivots from idea to idea and question to question and delivers a remarkable performance. And now here's Alan Watts in On Being God.
Between Western psychology, psychiatry, and psychotherapy, and the so-called religions of Asia, there is common ground, because both are interested in changing states of human consciousness. Whereas institutional Western religion, Christianity, Judaism, and even Islam, are relatively less interested in this matter. Western religions are more concerned with behavior, doctrine, and belief than with any transformation of the way in which we are aware of ourselves and of the world. But this matter concerns psychiatry and psychology very much. Only those states of consciousness which are not normal are usually treated in Western psychology as being in some way sick. There are, of course, exceptions to this, and there have increasingly been exceptions. In the work of Jung, and to some extent even of Grodek, of Prinzhorn, of more modern people, Rogers, and Ronald Lang, changing consciousness is often looked upon as a form of therapy. But in general, different states of consciousness from the normal are regarded as a form of sickness. And therefore, official and institutional psychiatry constitutes itself the guardian of sanity and of socially approved experience of reality. And very often it seems to me that reality appears rather much the way the world is seen on a bleak Monday morning. In this official doctrine, I might even say dogma, of what reality is. Because after all, we know that our science, such as it is of psychology, is founded in the scientific naturalism of the 19th century. And the metaphysical and mythological assumptions of that science still underlie a great deal of psychological thinking, in behaviorism eminently, but also to a large extent in official psychoanalysis. Indeed, one might say that psychoanalysis is based on Newtonian mechanics, and in fact could be called psychohydraulics. Not that that analogy is altogether inappropriate, because there are certainly respects in which our psychic life flows and exhibits the dynamics of water. But of course we want to know what kind of water, and for the scientific naturalism of the 19th century, the basic energies of nature were considered to be very much inferior to human consciousness in quality. Ernst Haeckel, the biologist of that time, would think of the energy of the universe as blind energy. And correspondingly, it seems to me that Freud thought of the libido as essentially blind, unconscious energy, embodying only a kind of formless, unstructured, and insatiable lust. This is a generalization. Some modification in that thinking is, of course, possible. But the tendency is to regard all that which lies below the surface of human consciousness as being less evolved, because you must remember that this was also the time of Darwin's theories of evolution, of seeing the human mind as a fortuitous development from much more primitive forms of life, coming forth by purely mechanical processes, by natural selection and by the survival of the fittest. And therefore, man was in general seen as a fluke of nature, an embodiment of reason, emotion, and values, for which the more basic processes of nature had no sympathy and about which they did not care. If, therefore, the human race is to flourish, we must take charge of evolution. It can no longer be left to spontaneous process, but it must be directed by human ingenuity, despite the fact that although our brains are capable of dealing with a colossal number of variables at once, our conscious attention is not. Most people cannot consider more than 3 variables at the same time without using a pencil. And this shows that in many ways the scanning process of man's conscious attention is very inadequate for dealing with the infinitely many variables, the multidimensional processes of the natural universe. However, a serious attempt has been made, and scientific naturalism issued in a fantastic fight with nature. In this whole notion of the conquest and subordination of nature, which has, as a matter of fact, very ancient, non-scientific and biblical origins, with the idea of man as the head and chief and ruler of nature in the image of God. And the time has now dawned upon us all when our attempts to beat nature into submission are having alarming results, because we see that it's very dangerous to mess around with processes that we don't understand, that have enormous numbers of variables, and we begin to wonder whether we hadn't better let well enough alone. At the same time, although I said that Western psychology had more in common or more common interest with Oriental religion than it does with Western religion, there is a sense in which psychiatry and psychotherapy are becoming the religion of the West. Psychoanalysis has much in common with the forms and procedures of institutional religion. There is, for example, apostolic succession. The passing down of mana, of unified power to practice therapy, from the father-founder, Sigmund Freud, through his immediate apostles, to an enormous company of archbishops and bishops, among whom there are, of course, as there were with Christianity, heresiarchs, such as Jung and Grodek and Rank and Reich. And the heresiarchs are duly excommunicated and anathematized. There are rituals, as there are also rituals with religion. There is the sacrament of the couch. There is the spiritual discipline of free association. There is the mystic knowledge of the interpretation of dreams. And there are also the two great symbolic fetishes, the long one and the round one. Now, it's extraordinarily easy to make fun of all this. And we must not forget that we owe a tremendous debt to Freud, if for nothing else than pointing out that much of ourselves of which we are aware in terms of the conscious ego is not really ourselves. It is something superficial. However we define its nature, it is superficial. And the realities of human life are not under the gaze of its scanning process, at least not in the ordinary way. And that was a tremendous revelation. There's no question about that. But one sees troublesome signs when the doctrines and processes of psychiatry, psychoanalysis, and so forth become officialized. And I think Thomas Sass, in his books, The Myth of Mental Illness and The Manufacture of Madness, is pointing out something extremely important to us, which is that, in effect, the psychological official of today is the priest, and that he is beginning to exercise the same sort of controls over human life as were exercised by the church in the Middle Ages. So that a professor of psychiatry at Columbia or Harvard or Yale medical schools has today the same sort of intellectual respectability and authority as the professor of theology at the University of Toledo or Padua would have had in the year 1400. Now you must realize that the theologians of those days not simply believed in their cosmology and the theology, they almost knew it was true in the same way that our scientists know certain things to be true. Despite the fact that they change their opinions very often, while they hold them, they have in effect the force of dogma, as witness the anathematization of Velikovsky for his uncomfortable ideas. And therefore, there are heresies existing today which are persecuted in the same way as heresies were persecuted by the Holy Inquisition. And they are persecuted out of kindness, in exactly the same way that the Holy Inquisition persecuted heresy out of kindness and deep concern for human beings. That is unimaginable to us, but it was so. For after all, if you seriously believed that someone who did not hold the Catholic faith and who voluntarily rejected it would be tortured physically and spiritually forever and ever and ever in hell, you would resort to almost any means to preserve a fellow human being from such a fate, especially if the complaint or disease of heresy from which he suffered was infectious. You would first of all reason with him. And if he was not responsive to reason, you would resort to abuse and to forceful argument. And if he was not responsive to that, you would give him shock treatment and bang him about. If that didn't work, the thumbscrew and the rack and the Iron Maiden. And if that didn't work, as a last desperate resort, you would burn him at the stake in the pious hope that in the midst of those searing fires he would think better and make a last act of perfect contrition, and so be rescued from everlasting damnation. And you did all this in the spirit of this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you, in the spirit of a surgeon who is very, very sorry indeed that he has to make you undergo this extremely painful operation. But it is in your best interests, and there really is at least a 50-50 chance that you may survive. And so, therefore, in perfectly scientific medical spirit, people may be very arbitrarily and without due process deprived of their civil rights, incarcerated in prisons that are in many cases much worse than prisons for criminals, and generally left to rot, be neglected and ignored, and when bumptious, given shock treatment or put in solitary confinement. For what? Because they have unorthodox and heretical states of consciousness. A lot of these people are not dangerous until provoked into being dangerous by being ignored, by being treated as machines, and generally defined as non-human. And if you are defined as non-human, there's precious little you can do about it. Because everything you say that sounds human will be taken as a kind of utterance of a mechanical man, as imitating humanness out of lunatic cunning. You will be suspicious. Everything you say will be listened to in a different way and with different ears. And you will have one hell of a time talking yourself out of it. Because there really are no rules as to what one must do when incarcerated for having unorthodox consciousness. There is no clear road to repentance. And this is found likewise in jails, where people are incarcerated on 1 to 10-year sentences, as in places like Vacaville, California, where when I visited such prisons, young men have come to me in perfect desperation, saying, I don't know what's happened to me, because I want to live like a decent citizen. I know I've done things that are wrong, but I simply don't know what is expected of me here. If I try to do what's expected, they say I'm compliant. And that seems to be some sort of a sickness. Thomas Sass drew attention to this when he quoted a discussion of the types of school children who may very well need therapy. There were overachieving children. There were underachieving children. There were children who exhibited erratic patterns. There were children who were sort of dully mediocre. In fact, every sort of child can be given a diagnostic name for his behavior which sounds sick. As Jung once suggested, life itself is a disease with a very poor prognosis. It lingers on for years and invariably ends with death. And I submit that in our present knowledge of the human mind, such power in the hands of psychiatrists is amazingly dangerous. For I would suggest that today we know about as much concerning the human mind as we knew about the galaxy in 1300. And that while there are indeed individuals who are certainly able to perform psychotherapy, it is the sheerest arrogance for anybody to say that he is officially qualified to do so. We do not know how it is done. just as we do not know, really, how musical, artistic, and literary genius is done. You cannot really teach it. You can put the tools for doing these things into people's hands, and you can show them how to use the tools. But whether they will use those tools with genius is quite unpredictable. And this is above all true of the art of psychotherapy. We don't know how it's done. We've got some vague ideas. There probably are some people who, by reason of their mental derangement, are probably not qualified to perform it, because they are maybe out just to make other people into messes. But to say that there are certain standards and certain examinations that can be passed and certificates that could be issued, which do indeed qualify people for this work, is, I think, pernicious nonsense. And is used, of course, out of economic self-interest when those who consider themselves official therapists run into competition. The same was done by religion. I was talking, imagine it, to a Buddhist priest in Thailand some years ago. I was looking at some books in a bookshop in the precincts of a Buddhist temple. And I was wandering over, and I noticed a book on a certain form of Buddhist meditation. And I murmured, Satipatthana, which is the name of a certain kind of Buddhist meditation. And a voice suddenly said to me, "You practice Satipatthana?" I looked up, and there was a skinny Buddhist monk in a yellow robe with rather red eyes looking at me. I said, "Not exactly Satipatthana. I use a different method. It's called Zen." "Oh, Satipatthana, not Zen." I said, "Oh, well, it's something like it, isn't it?" "No." "Well, it's rather like yoga," I said, "isn't it?" "Not yoga. No, Satipatthana different. Only right way." "Well, look," I said to him, "I have a lot of Roman Catholic friends who tell me that their way is the only right way. Who am I to believe?" "You know," I said, "you're like someone who's got a ferry boat for crossing the river." I used a Buddhist simile. "And another fellow down the stream has opened up ferry business. And you go to the government and say, he's not authorized to operate a ferry boat because he's competition to you. Let all operate ferry boats who will. And if you haven't got the sense to stay off one that sinks, it's your fault." And after all, I could say to him, "You believe that everything that happens to you is your own karma. So why worry?" But now, it's so interesting that since official psychiatry, and I underline that word official because I hope those of you in this audience who are therapists will regard yourselves as unofficial. At least that'll give you an out. But nevertheless, official psychiatry has curious things in common with Western religion, as well as with Eastern. With Eastern, I said, only insofar as it has an interest in states of consciousness and inclines to regard other states of consciousness than the ordinary as sick. But it has one very important feature in common with Western religion. And to that, we have to go a little bit into Western religious history and ask ourselves what in Western religion, and especially in Christianity, and this goes also for Judaism, Islam, what is the great heresy? Curiously enough, the great heresy was first in the West committed by no less a person than Jesus Christ, who believed himself to be God. This, of course, will be unquestionably true if you think that the Gospel of St. John has historical value. It's a little vaguer in the Synoptic Gospels, but if you read the Gospel of St. John, there is absolutely no doubt about it, for he said, "I and the Father are one. He who has seen me has seen the Father. Before Abraham was, I am. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the resurrection and the life." He said all that. according to this gospel. And that is something that in the Western world you are not supposed to say. And especially you are not supposed to believe it. And naturally it was very difficult for Jesus, because he was saying all this in the context of the Hebrew culture. And he tried to find language in the Hebrew scriptures with which to express his state of consciousness, because he had an unusual state of consciousness. As I read it, he had cosmic consciousness, otherwise known as mystical experience, otherwise known as moksha, nirvana, bodhi, satori, fana elvana, or what you will. And that happens to people. It has happened as far back as we know. It happens all over the world and in all cultures. We don't know very much about it. We don't really know ways in which to make it happen, because it seems to be of the nature of it that it is a spontaneous surprise. But it unquestionably happens. And most people keep their mouths shut about it when it does. I had a friend who, in the middle of having a stroke, had this illumination. And he said to me, "I fear to speak to my friends of this, but it was the most beautiful experience. I shall never be afraid of death. In fact, I recommend everyone to have a stroke." This was my friend Jean Varda, lately deceased, Greek painter. But Jesus certainly had this transformation of consciousness. And he was crucified for it. Why? Because he had committed an act of insubordination and treason against the cosmic government. Because if you believe that God is a monarch, an absolute, omniscient, and omnipotent authority, shall we say a sort of cosmic ego, then to claim to be that is to introduce democracy into the kingdom of heaven, to usurp divine authority, and to speak in its name without proper authorization. And they asked Jesus, "By what authority do you speak? Of heaven or of men?" And he was tricky about answering that one. He said, "By what authority did John the Baptist speak?" And they were nervous about answering that one. He could have asked, "By what authority did Isaiah speak?" etc. Or Moses. But Moses became official authority. And if you could wangle it that what you said was simply an extension of what Moses said, because Rabbi so-and-so said it, who got it from Rabbi so-and-so, who got it from Rabbi so-and-so, who got it from Moses, then it's okay. Notice this, that to be an authority today in the academic world depends on documentation. It's not enough to say, "For I say unto you," you must put in your footnotes. And the more the footnotes, the more the authority, obviously. So, our dissertations tend to be books about books, about books, about books. And our libraries multiply by mitosis. So, when somebody speaks as an authority, that means speaks as the author. That's all it means. It's a statement of which you are the author, and therefore for which you assume responsibility. That is to speak with authority. And to be original is likewise not to be freaky, but to speak from the origin. That is what Christians mean when they say to speak in the Spirit, to have your mouth possessed by the Holy Spirit, as they believe the mouth of Jesus was possessed by the Holy Spirit. So the gospel of Jesus, which of course was hushed up from its inception, was that wake up everybody and find out who you are. asking that, again in the Gospel of St. John, they, pointing to his disciples, may be one, even as you, Father, and I are one. And when he was accused of blasphemy, the Jews took up stones to stone him, you know. And he said, many good works have I shown you from the Father, and from which of these do you stone me? And they said, for a good work we don't stone you, but for blasphemy, because you being a man make yourself God. Now listen to the reply. He said, is it not written in your law, I have said ye are gods? And if that is what the scripture says, it can't be denied. So why do you tell me I blaspheme because I say I am a son of God? No answer. Because I said I am a son of God. It doesn't say that in your King James translation. It says I am the son of God. And you'll see the italicized, and you will think that that is for emphasis if you don't realize that passages in italics in the King James Bible are interpolations by the translators. So, son of, in Hebrew and in Arabic, means of the nature of. When we call someone a son of a bitch, we mean bitchy. And so if you call someone a son of God, you mean divine. Of the nature of God. As the Nicene Creed subsequently defined it, he is of one substance with the Father. But what happened was that this being blasphemy for the Jews, it became blasphemy for the Christians, for anyone else than Jesus to say it. They said, okay, baby, it's what's so with you, but there it stops. No more of this business. And as a result of that, Jesus was made irrelevant by pedestalization, by being kicked upstairs. Oh! In spite of the fact that he said, greater works than these that I do shall you do. Oh no, upstairs with you, baby, because we just can't have that sort of thing going on in a monarchical universe. We're not going to have democracy in the kingdom of heaven. So, this is why the gospel is impossible, because we're supposed to follow the example of Christ, where he says, for example, be not anxious for the morrow. Do not worry about what you shall eat, what you shall drink, and what you shall wear. God will take care of you. Doesn't he take care of the birds? Don't the flowers grow? And they're wonderful. They're crazy. They're great. What are you worrying about? I've never heard a sermon preached on that. Never. Because it's totally subversive. The economy would crash. So they say, oh yes, that's all very well, but he was the boss's son. See, he had that colossal advantage. Take up your cross and follow him. Hey, but wait a minute. I don't know I'm going to be resurrected 3 days later. I can't do all those miracles. He had an unfair advantage. So how can you ask us to follow the example of Christ? But supposing he didn't have an unfair advantage. Supposing that what was true about Jesus as a son of God is true of us. Only a few of us know it. And we are pretty careful to be quiet about it, lest the same thing happen to us as happened to Jesus. And indeed it often does. And you know, you get these people from Arkansas or Texas or anywhere in the Bible Belt who never heard of the Upanishads, and they have this cosmic consciousness experience, and they realize that that's what happened to Jesus. They say, I'm Jesus, come back. Well, everybody says to them, you aren't Jesus. It's pretty obvious you're not Jesus. You're just Joe Dokes. Well, he says that's what they said about Jesus. He has a perfect argument, except they say you're not much of a Jesus. They say, all right, if you're Jesus, command that these stones be made bread. And he says, a wicked and deceitful generation seeketh for a sign, and there shall no sign be given. Now, why talk about this? Is it interesting? Is it important for the human being to realize that in some sense of the word, whatever it means, he is God or one with God, as is plainly taught by the Hindus, hinted at by the Buddhists, only they don't like to put it out as a concept in case people will use the concept as an idol to hang on to. They want you to find out for yourself and not believe in it. And certainly the Taoists understand it, the Sufis understand it, a lot of people understand it. But so what? Well, the importance of it is this, that to know that you are God is another way of saying that you feel completely with this universe. You feel profoundly rooted in it and connected with it. You feel, in other words, that the whole energy which expresses itself in the galaxies is intimate. It is not something to which you are a stranger, but it is that with which you, whatever that is, are intimately bound up. That in your seeing, your hearing, your talking, your thinking, your moving, you express that which it is which moves the sun and other stars. And if you don't know that, if you don't feel that, well, naturally you feel alien, you feel a stranger in the world, and if you feel a stranger, you feel hostile. And therefore, you start to bulldoze things about, to beat it up, and to try and make the world submit to your will, and you become a real troublemaker. So I feel also one reason why you become hostile is that feeling that you were just brought into this place, that your father and mother went up to some monkey business that they probably shouldn't have done, or it was bad rubber goods, and as a result of this, here you are, and you didn't ask to be here. Well, you always feel you can turn around and blame them. You can blame somebody. You can blame the government. You can blame the rascals. You can blame the cheaters. Always supposing you yourself aren't a rascal, which is a long odds. You always can blame someone and say, I didn't ask for it. Take it away. And yet, very few people are all too ready to take it away. Camus said that the only serious philosophical problem is whether or not to commit suicide. And if you don't say take it away, what are you going to do? You've really got to assume responsibility for it. You've got to say yes to what happens. It's my karma. And that doesn't mean merely, there are many misinterpretations of the doctrine of karma. It's usually and popularly understood is that what happens to you, either fortunate or unfortunate, is the result of good or bad deeds in a previous life. Well, that's popular superstition. The real meaning of karma, the word in Sanskrit means simply doing. And if I say of an event, it is your karma, it is saying it is your doing. So the exposition, a book which would expound karma, would be not so much a whodunit as a youdunit. But that seems fantastic. Now, therefore, what I propose we do is that we, instead of just ideologizing, we have a clinical experience. You know, in psychiatric school, medical school, it's very usual for a doctor to bring a patient out in front of the students and talk with the patient as a kind of demonstration. He says, I want you to recognize the difference between a psychopath and a manic depressive or a schizophrenic or something. They don't know what all these things mean. And especially the schizophrenia. And so he has a dialogue with the patient right there. So let us suppose that I'm the patient, and you are the students and the doctors. And I suffer from what you would call the delusion that I'm God. And therefore, you might want to do something about me, or with me, or humor me, or ask me questions. And so I'm perfectly willing to submit to your examination and your treatment, and invite you to help yourselves.
When did you become God?
Now?
Will you marry me?
No. Yes.
You sleep on your stomach or your back?
Sleeping is like politics. One sleeps on the right side, and then when you're tired of that, you sleep on the left. When you're tired of that, you sleep on your back, and when you're tired of that, you sleep on your stomach. And it is thus that the world goes round.
If you were God now, what were you yesterday?
Now,
How will you become God?
you don't become God.
Am I also God?
Yes.
Are we then the same person?
No. Remember, 3 persons, but 1 God.
God, could you tell us a little about Satan?
Could I tell you a little bit about Satan? Yes. Although the matter is a little esoteric, but I told you all about it in the book of Job, where you will see that in the court of heaven, Satan is the district attorney. He is not, as Christians imagine, the enemy of heaven and the enemy of mankind. He's merely the person who sees the bad side of things and carries out the dirty work. And therefore, he saw Job and wondered whether Job really was as great a guy as he seemed to be, and suggested that God should appoint a committee of investigation to find out. And the committee did its work very thoroughly, but the case went against Satan because it was proved in the end that Job was an honorable man. Now you notice that although we pay the salary of the district attorney, whenever there's a great criminal case before the public eye, people begin to take the side of the underdog. And the prosecutor always has less public sympathy than the defense, except in political trials. On the right hand of God, and you know the defense is always on the right hand of the judge in court, is our only mediator and advocate, which is a phrase referring to Jesus Christ our Lord. So there is the defense and there is the prosecution. And it is the function of Satan to be the prosecutor. There's a good deal more to it than that, because before all this started, as in a stage play, there was an arrangement in the green room before coming on stage in which certain things were understood, but that are only to be revealed when the curtain goes down at the end of the play.
Is Job God too?
Yes, but he doesn't know it.
Then why do you hide from the sight of so many?
Why do you hide? It's for the same reason you're hiding.
God, did you create man?
Yes.
God?
Who else? What? Man has free will to the extent that he knows who he is. Not otherwise. Where I got it from.
Does a woman have free will too?
Yes. To the extent that she knows who she is, yes.
Man has free will to know just what he is, and man is God. Then you'd say that you are no more than any God in this room, or any man.
That is correct. I'm no more God than any of you.
Then you only have the power to know who you are.
Well, that is saying quite a bit, yes.
What is not God?
What is not God? There is nothing that is not God.
How do you learn who you are?
It's like waking up from a dream. After a while, one's experience begins to have what I would call a haven't we been here before feeling. Going round and round and round. And then you begin wondering, where am I going? And to answer that question, you have to try and find out what you want. And so I went into that very thoroughly. What do I want to happen? And of course, as soon as you ask yourself that, you begin to fantasize. And our amazing technology is, of course, an expression of human desire for power, for what we want to achieve. So I simply set myself to thinking through how far we could go. And so I soon found myself at a great push-button place where I had a fantastic mechanism with buttons available for every conceivable thing I could wish. So I spent quite a bit of time playing with those. And science fiction wasn't in it. You know, you go going like that, and here is Cleopatra. And so on, you know, and then press this button, symphonic music, in 4-channel sound, 16-channel sound, anything, you know, all possible pleasures are available. And when, you know, you're like everybody's dream of the Sultan in the palace, you suddenly notice there's a button labeled surprise. You push that, and here we are. Yes, boredom is, of course, the problem. Boredom is the other side of creativity. And the energy of creation has as that is the yang, the yin side of that energy is called boredom. Everything, of course, is fundamentally yang and yin. If you understand that, you really don't need to understand anything else.
As God, what responsibility do you feel to ameliorate evil in the world?
As God, what responsibility do I feel to ameliorate evil in the world? I begin with the point that I am responsible for the way the world is. If I couldn't feel that, I'd have to blame somebody else. I'm not willing to do that, because I know that under various changing circumstances, it might be appropriate for me to be as big a rascal as rascals have been. Now, as to improving the world,
You know this.
Yeah, it's sad, but I mean, I don't even know.